The Lonely Caravanserai, a Sufi tale for the digital age. On a winter evening in a glass and steel city, a man named Cem sat in a crowded café, scrolling through his phone. Around him, people were laughing, talking, clinking cups. On his screen, blue dots blinked. Messages came and went. Still, a familiar emptiness sat in his chest like a stone. It was the kind of loneliness that didn't care how many people were in the room or how many friends were online. How is it, he thought, that I'm surrounded by thousands and still feel like a single pixel on a dead screen? He sighed, locked his phone, and stared at his reflection in the dark glass. For a second he didn't recognize the tired eyes looking back. "Excuse me?" a voice said. "Is this seat taken? Or is it lonely too?" Cem turned. An old man in a simple gray coat and a knitted cap was standing beside the table. His beard was white, his eyes unexpectedly bright, like someone had lit a candle behind them. "No, it's free," Cem said. The old man sat down slowly, as if he were settling into a story rather than a chair. "You look like someone who has many connections," the old man said, nodding at the phone, "and very little company." Cem gave an awkward laugh. "That's accurate. Are you a psychologist or something?" "I am something," the man said. "Today I am just a thirsty old fool. Would you share the table with my foolishness?" Without waiting for an answer, he signaled the waiter and ordered tea. The waiter greeted him with unusual warmth. "Do you come here often?" Cem asked. "Often enough," the old man smiled. "Long enough to see people come in with heavy hearts and leave with heavier phones." Cem couldn't help himself. "What's that supposed to mean?" The man leaned in a little. "Tell me something. When you unlock that device, do you feel bigger or smaller?" Cem hesitated. "Sometimes bigger, but mostly smaller, if I'm honest." "That is because this little box," said the old man, tapping the table where the phone lay, "is a mirror designed by your ego. It shows you yourself over and over in 1,000 costumes, and after a while, you forget there are other hearts in the room." Cem frowned. "Other hearts don't exactly come talk to me either." The old man chuckled. "Do you know the story of the Lonely Caravanserai?" "No." "Then tonight you'll learn it," the old man said as his tea arrived. He wrapped his hands around the hot glass and began. The Lonely Caravanserai. Once upon a time, in the middle of a vast desert, there was a caravanserai, an inn where travelers could rest. It was built at the crossing of ancient trade routes, with a wide courtyard, a well, stables, and many rooms. Its owner was a man named Harun. When he was young, caravans from every land would arrive: merchants, pilgrims, scholars, wanderers. They sat around the well and exchanged stories, songs, and news from distant places. Harun loved those days. Each traveler was like a letter from God, delivered straight to his courtyard. But as years passed, a new city rose far away. The trade routes were diverted. Shiny new inns with colored glass and bright lamps were built along the new roads. Slowly, fewer caravans came to Harun's place. He grew bitter. "They have forgotten me," he grumbled. "No one visits. No one remembers what I've done for them." He painted a big sign outside that read, "Welcome to Harun's perfect caravanserai. Everything you need is here. Harun is most generous host." He waited. Sometimes a small caravan passed. The travelers looked tired and dusty. Harun would peek from behind the door. If they wore rich clothes, he opened the gate and greeted them with shining words. If they seemed poor or unimportant, he stayed inside and muttered, "Why should I tire myself for them? When I was young, great caravans came, Important people. They should send someone worthy of my hospitality." The well grew quieter. The courtyard became a place of echoing footsteps and wind. One scorching afternoon, when even the lizards hid in the cracks, a very small caravan came. Only 3 travelers and 4 camels. They knocked on Harun's gate. "Go away!" Harun shouted from inside. "I am closed." "Closed?" a traveler called. "But your sign says welcome and your lamps are lit." "I am closed to people who don't deserve my generosity," Harun replied. There was a pause. Then a different voice spoke, soft but clear. "Brother, who taught you that you can keep hospitality in a locked box and take it out only for the rich?" Harun was offended. "Who are you to question me in my own caravanserai?" "I am no one," the voice said. "Just a traveler. But the well outside told us that when this place was young, its owner gave water even to stray dogs." Harun snorted. "The well lies. In any case, go away. I am lonely and tired." There was a murmur on the other side of the gate, as if the travelers were consulting with the breeze. Then the soft voice said, "Listen, owner of the Caravanserai. How can a man live in a house built for guests and complain he is lonely when he locks the door from inside?" The words struck Harun like a stone in still water. He fell silent. "Who are you?" he asked again. But this time the question trembled. "Open the gate, and you may find out," the voice replied. Harun hesitated, pride tugging one way, an ache inside tugging the other. At last, tired of his own echo, he lifted the heavy bar and pulled the gate open. Before him stood 3 travelers, a woman with lines of wisdom around her eyes, a young boy with a half-broken flute, and an old man in a simple robe with dust on his shoes and light in his eyes. Harun, embarrassed, spoke gruffly. "Come in then if you must, but I have nothing special to offer." "You have a roof, a well, and yourself," the old man said. "That is already too much for travelers like us." They entered. Harun brought them water and a simple meal. As they ate, the boy played his cracked flute. At first the notes were thin and scratchy, but soon the courtyard began to feel less empty. "Why did you say I locked the door from inside?" Harun asked the old man. "Because you did," the old man said easily. "Your gate is built from hurt and expectation. You wait for the world to knock with gold in its hand, but real travelers carry their gold inside their chest." He pointed at Harun's heart. "You turned your caravanserai into a museum of your own importance," the old man continued. "You forgot that the purpose of a caravanserai is not to be admired from the road, but to be used, worn, and sometimes even taken for granted. A house of welcome is meant to be a little messy." Harun bristled. "But no one comes. How can I welcome them?" The old man smiled. "Do you know what we saw on the way here? A thirsty shepherd and his flock? A family with a broken wagon still many miles away. They did not come because they thought you were closed or too grand for them. Your sign says welcome, but your face says, don't disturb me unless you are important." Harun was stunned. "So what should I do?" The old man shrugged. "Light your lamps, yes, but then go walk the road. Meet people where they are. Carry water out, instead of waiting for them to come to your well. Invite, don't advertise. And when they come, don't measure them. Serve them." Harun stayed quiet. That night, he couldn't sleep. He walked around the courtyard, hearing echoes of the days when laughter and stories filled the air. He remembered a younger version of himself, running with a bucket of water to greet even the smallest caravan. In the morning, he did something he had not done in years. He left. He shut the gate gently and walked down the dusty road with an extra skin of water on his shoulder. For the first time in a long time, the caravanserai was empty. But Harun's heart was not. He met the shepherd and his flock. He walked with the family whose wagon was broken. He shared what he had, and in return they shared stories, prayers, songs, and silence. As Harun walked back at sunset, he saw something astonishing. From a distance, his caravanserai no longer looked like a tomb. The windows glowed. There were silhouettes moving in the courtyard. He hurried forward, confused. Inside, the three travelers were busy, sweeping, lighting lamps, drawing water from the well. A pot of stew simmered over the fire. The old man looked up and smiled. "Ah, good. You have returned." "What is all this?" Harun demanded. "This," said the old man, stirring the pot, "is what happens to a caravanserai when its owner finally remembers that it is not a monument to his loneliness, but a space for God's guests." "But who told you you could use my kitchen?" Harun asked, half annoyed, half relieved. The woman laughed. "Brother, hospitality is contagious. You infected us the moment you opened the gate." The old man in the café stopped talking. Sem realized he'd been holding his breath. Outside, the city lights reflected on wet pavement. Somewhere, a tram clattered by. "So," the old man said, "what did you learn from Harun?" "That he was kind of arrogant," Tim said. "He wanted people to come to him, but he didn't want to move toward them." The old man nodded. "And what is your apartment, your social media profile, your carefully curated life, if not your little caravanserai?" Chem shifted in his chair. "Come on, it's not that simple. People don't answer my messages. Friends are busy. Everyone's in their own life." The old man sipped his tea. So you wait with the door half open, saying welcome with your lips, and prove that you're worth my vulnerability with your eyes." "That's not fair," Chem protested. "Maybe," the old man said, "but tell me, when was the last time you walked the road?" Chem frowned. "What road?" "The road of service," said the old man. "The road where you go not to be seen but to see. Not to be loved, but to love. Not to be entertained, but to be useful." He leaned forward. "You live in a world that worships the self. You are told, build your brand, protect your boundaries, optimize your time, cut off toxic people, be independent. And after all this cutting and optimizing, what remains? A perfectly polished loneliness." Chem looked down at his hands. "Sufis say," the old man continued, "that the cure for loneliness is not more people but more presence. And the fastest way to become present is to serve what is in front of you." "How does that help with feeling alone?" Chem asked quietly. "Loneliness is the ache of a heart turned inward," said the old man. "Service is the act of turning it outward. When you forget yourself in doing something for another, even something small, your ego steps aside for a moment in that space. You feel a different kind of connection. First to the person in front of you, and through them, to the one who made both of you." He tapped his chest gently. "You are not a separate island. You are a wave pretending it isn't the ocean." Sem swallowed. "So what am I supposed to do? Join some group? Volunteer? Go to a Sufi lodge?" "You could," said the old man, "but start smaller. Sufis like small doors that open into big rooms." "Small doors?" "Yes, for example," he said, counting on his fingers. "Tonight, when you go home, instead of collapsing into the glow of your screen, message someone not to get something but to give something a sincere compliment, a prayer, a listening ear. Ask them how they really are, Then be willing to stay for the answer. Tomorrow, when you are on the train, look up from your phone. Notice the old woman struggling with her bag, the mother with the restless child, the tired cashier. Wherever you see a small chance to help, take it. Not for a selfie, not for social credit. Just as practice. And once a week, go somewhere, anywhere, where help is needed. A soup kitchen, a refugee center, your neighbor's broken sink. Tell them, I am here to help. I don't know much, but I can carry, clean, listen. He smiled. Make your life a caravanserai again. Cem listened, the stone in his chest shifting slightly. But what if people take advantage? He asked. They will, the old man said calmly. Sometimes. Let them. You are not doing it for them alone. You are doing it for the one who is behind every face. Your task is to keep the door open. His task is to send the guests. And what about my own needs? Cem pressed. What about my loneliness? Serve with both hands, the old man said. But do not forget to pray with your tongue. Speak to your Lord about your loneliness like you would message a close friend. Honestly, clumsily, often. That is also a kind of service. You are serving the truth in your own heart. Silence settled between them, but it felt strangely warm. Cem glanced at his phone on the table. For the first time that day, he didn't feel like unlocking it. Finally, he asked, Who are you really? The old man chuckled. A traveler, like you. My name is not important. He finished his tea and stood up. Remember Harun. The Caravanserai did not become alive again when more people liked it from afar. It came alive when its owner walked the road with water on his shoulder. He reached into his pocket and took out a small, worn wooden bead, smooth from years of being turned between fingers. Here, he said, placing it in Cem's palm. When you feel the old loneliness returning, hold this and ask yourself, who can I serve in the next 5 minutes? Then do that. Even if it is just sending an honest message or washing a sink that nobody will thank you for. Cem closed his fingers around the bead. It was surprisingly warm. When he looked up, the old man was already at the door. The barista called after him, Good night, Dede. The old man raised a hand in farewell and disappeared into the night, swallowed by the city's electric glow. That night, Cem walked home without his earphones. The city was still loud and indifferent. Neon signs still flashed, cars still honked, strangers still passed without eye contact. But here and there he saw little doors. A neighbor struggling with groceries. He helped carry the bags upstairs. A co-worker's sad status. He sent a voice message instead of a lazy emoji. Hey, I'm here if you want to talk. A local charity's post looking for volunteers. He filled in the form, heart pounding as if he'd just jumped into cold water. Later in bed, scrolling felt empty. He opened a chat with someone who'd faded from his life. No drama, just distance. His thumb hovered. Then he typed, Been a while. I realized I've been very wrapped up in myself. How are you, really? I'd love to listen. He hesitated, then hit send. The loneliness did not vanish in a puff of mystical smoke. The room did not suddenly fill with angels playing flutes, but something small and stubborn shifted inside, like a locked gate's bar being lifted a finger's breadth. In his palm, the wooden bead rested quietly. It reminded him of wells and roads and an old man who said he was no one. Cem whispered into the dim light, Make my life a caravanserai, and send me your guests. Far above the city, beyond the satellites and radio towers and clouds of human thoughts, a vast silence listened. And somewhere in that silence, a smile formed, because a heart that turns outward has already begun to find its way home.